Hello there, everyone. Hope you all are doing well and learning new and exciting things every day. First, I want to say thank you to all Digital Overdose team members, organizers, mentors, and sponsors to make this possible. Now, let's start with the presentation. As you can see, the topic of my presentation, it's building an effective red team. Before diving into the presentation, a little bit about myself. I am Tehreem Fahim from Pakistan, working in a prestigious blockchain-based company called Exod as lead security engineer. Offensive security is my passion and profession. I am a cybersecurity enthusiast and researcher and also doing my bachelor's degree in software engineering. Now, without any further delay, let's see what topic we are covering here today. The first one is red teaming overview. Then we will see the methodology used by the red teams and then how an organization can build an effective red team. And also, what are the things they should keep in mind? That will include red team goals, skill set, an individual must have, then the difference between pen testing and red teaming, how it can done effectively, red team exercises and its objectives. Also, we will see the techniques used by the teams. Then we will see why an organization should consider to build a red team. Finally, we will check a few resources. First, let's see what the first is all about. What is red team? Simply put, a red team is a group that plays the role of a bad guy or an hacker, an adversary or competitor, and provides security feedback from that perspective. Now the question arises, what they do and how they do it. Before diving into that, let's see what is red teaming. Um, to put red teaming in layman's terms, it's ethical hacking. Simply, red teaming is full scope, multi-layered attack simulation designed to measure how well a company's employees, networks, applications, and physical security controls can withstand an attack from a real-life adversary. It's a way for independent security teams to test how well an organization would perform in the real-world attack scenario. If we talk about the scope of the red teaming, it includes everything. It literally includes everything. A, a thorough red team test will expose vulnerabilities and risks regarding technology and information security. For example, networks, routers, switches, appliances, applications, sensitive data, etc. And also, it includes people like staff, independent contractors, department, business partners, etc. Basically, it includes all aspects of social engineering. While the physical part includes offices, warehouses, substations, data centers, buildings, etc. Now the scope is clear, I hope. Let's talk a bit about methodology. As you can see in the diagram, it includes 7 phases. The first phase, that is recognizes, is focused on collecting as much information as possible about the target. Recognizes is also called information gathering. It is one of the most critical steps. This is done through the use of public tools such as Multigo, LinkedIn, Google, Twitter, Facebook, etc. As a result, it is usually possible to learn a great deal about a target's people, technology, surroundings, and environment. These steps also involves building or acquiring a specific tool for the engagement. Now, let's come to the second phase, that is weaponization. It is quite an important phase, focusing on collecting information about infrastructure, facilities, employees. Open source intelligence gathering can be quite telling about a target, its people, its facilities, and its technical makeup, such as physical or logical security controls, foot traffic, terrain, etc. It begins to paint basically when we when we see when we see it thoroughly, we were able to make a picture of the target and its primary operations. Effective weaponization involves preparation of the operation specific to the target, taking into the full account intel gathering from the reconnaissance stage. This commonly includes crafting custom malicious file payloads, configuring hardware trojans, acquiring social engineering costumes, creating falsified personas, companies, and much more. Now let's come to the third phase. The third phase is delivery phase. It is a critical stage of the execution phase. This marks the active launch of the operation in totality. Here, red team consultants carry out the action on the targets intended to reach the red team operations goal. What are the goals? We will see in few minutes. Uh, Basically, in this phase, things like physical cloning badges, social engineering, face-to-face targets, analyze cyber vulnerabilities, planting hardware trojans for remote network persistence, etc. Among one of the most important objective is to note the best opportunities to exploitation. And there comes the next phase, that is exploitation. It is exactly what it sounds like. At this point, the goal is to break in or comprise servers, apps, networks, etc. Bypass physical controls. Uh, that can be that can be anything: gates, fences, locks, radar, monitor detection, cameras, etc. And then exploit target staff through social engineering by face-to-face email, phone, fax, or SMS. The exploitation stage enables the preparation for the escalation and installation phase. Next, we have the installation stage. The primary goal is to prepare for persistence. This could amount to cyber persistence or physical persistence, although cyber persistence is generally slightly more common. During this stage, red team establishes a breach by taking advantage step taken in the exploitation step. Things like privilege escalation on compromised servers, shells, malicious file payload installation, usage of physical key impressions, and lock pick doors happens here. Next, maintaining persistence is the goal for command and control. Also, generally, cyber focused red team takes steps to ensure remote access to exploit systems are stable and reliable, setting the stage for data exfiltration and other post exploitation task goals. On the physical and social side, manipulating people into enabling circumventing of physical barriers in order to create backdoors into facilities are key. Um, During action on objective phase of a red team operations, the team aims to complete the mission and realize the agreed upon objectives set by the client and red team security. Actions on objectives happens through lateral movement throughout the cyber environment as well as the physical facilities, pivoting from compromised systems and from breached physical security controls all along capturing video, audio, and photographic evidence supporting each finding discovered. Ultimately, the team aims to exfiltrate data, information, or physical assets targets deemed critically sensitive. As we get the basic understanding of what is red team, now let's see how and why we built it. First thing, to build an effective team is to have clear-cut goals in your mind. That what are the actual goals of the red team? To set goals, keep these things in mind. First, challenge your organization's assumptions and identify faulty logic or flawed analysis. Second, assess the strength of the evidence base or the quality of your information. Third, Identify alternative options or outcomes and or explore the consequences of an action plan. Fourth, test your system, network, application, and more through the eye of an adversary so that you know where the attack can come from and where to expect them. And last but not least, understand the options for an adversary to break into and move throughout your system. Red teams are in place to help test organization and determine how well it will hold up against actual vulnerabilities into the network or real world scenarios. The goal for red teams should be to succeed in reaching the sensitive data or by taking control of certain environments depending on what you are testing for, despite the best efforts of the defensive security measures currently in place in the company. Okay, as we see the important things to keep in mind while defining the goals, let's see what skills set keep in mind while looking for a good teamer. Okay, the first thing, she needs to have in-depth knowledge of different operating systems like Linux, Windows, Android, etc. uh, and of course have strong networking concepts, and she also knows about the diverse networking protocols and also custom application and protocols. uh, Next, he or she should knows about the common physical security defenses, have great skills regarding social interactions so that social engineering can be performed, knows about customs or specialized technologies. He or she needs to know about system engineering and a bit of software development. And lastly, knows her ways with physical attacks. Now, let's see the difference between red teaming and, the pen testing. In pen testing, we have limited scope, that is scope just comprised of the system or application, while in red teaming everything is in scope, people, technology and environment. Pen testing is done in limited time, while for red teaming exercises requires a lot of time as compared to pen testing. In pen testing, we require less resources and methodology for pen testing is static. Defensive team knows when the attack is going to happen so that the attacker feels no need to hide themselves or the attack. So ultimately, they are unable to measure the performance of security measures done by the defensive team. While on the other hand, in teaming, lots of resources are required as the scope for the exercise is very wide and comprised of each and everything. If we talk about its methodology, then it's very flexible and change according to the needs and structure of the organization. One more thing, the blue team is unaware of the attacks, so the red teamers try to hide the attack and themselves as well. So ultimately, the blue team's performance is measured. Here, we see the difference, but how to make them effective. It's not just about hiring a group of people and dubbing them as part of a red team. There are there are some important steps to ensure you are hiring the right people for the job at hand with a focused goal in mind. Here are the 5 key steps to build out a successful red team. First, have a right conditions. Oftentimes, when looking for jobs, people are seeking a good culture fit, a place where they are challenged and won't become stagnant in their abilities or uninspired, causing them not to reach their full potentials. The same goes for those that look to work as part of Red Team. These individuals are very skilled and high level critical thinkers that enjoy challenging different work environments. That being said, you should plan to provide an open learning culture with an ability to continuously try new things and improve upon skills. This creates an appealing situations for ethical hackers out there and will entice them to join teams where everything isn't done in a cookie cutter fashion. That pushing the bar when it comes to different strategies behind penetration testing and escalating through the environment is encouraged, which means will create a diversified and better development team in the long run. Second, set clear objectives. Plan the red teaming. In past week, we have discussed setting smart goals. Now, this is where you should put this into action. Setting clear objectives from the get go will help you build out your team with the right members on the board and with awareness of the expectations for the project. Having your end goal in mind as you are building and planning out both the team and project at hand will provide a clear picture across the board. Third, get the right tools. Red teaming is about more than penetration testing. Make sure that your team has the right testing, vulnerability management, and any other assessment tools needed in order to get the job done. Depending on the past experience, members of the team will have had experience using different tools to complete the same task. So, ensuring you are not duplicating tools that can do the same things is also important for a business perspective. You will need a tool that can scale with you as your team grows. Consider tools with consider tools like as we discuss later in the section. Fourth, support the team. Their skill set is very technical, and once they are hired, trust them to handle the job at hand. When working as an ethical hacker, it's likely that this is not their first time escalating throughout a network, which means they have the skills and the smart to try different angles and to challenge the network with everything they have. These employees are incredibly valuable to your organization and the security posture you are working to obtain. Make sure you provide them the help that they may need and otherwise leave them to complete the mission set out before them. And the last one is targeted focus on key issues. Red teaming should produce quality thinking and advice, not qualitative result. With that, make sure you are utilizing your red team for what they were hired to do. It's all circles back to setting out goals before building the team. With that in mind, know that as they complete one project, they are likely already onto the next one. Now, quite a few times I use the word ex- red team exercise. Let's see what it is. A red team exercise is an imitation of multi-layered cyber attack targeting agreed upon objectives that include networks, technical and physical assets, storage devices, and many more. Um, Storage devices and many more. Let's the exercise and assessment performed helps in providing security defenses by letting organization experience a real-world data breach and thereby giving a bigger picture of organization's risk posture, security architecture, and team readiness in detecting and mitigating the threat proactively. Red team exercises unfold security vulnerabilities by penetrating network, assessing your process, and testing the defenses capabilities of your security teams in all possible ways. This helps in take the necessary steps to upload security layers accordingly. Now, a bit about objectives. What are the objectives of these exercises? These are the few objectives that organization can keep in mind. Test information environment. Second, verify incident response capabilities. Third, fully understand the impact of security breach. Fourth, assessing incident response. Fifth, discover weakness in development and testing phase. Last, check the ability to retaliate against the adversaries. Here, organization can tailor these to suits their environment and to increase their efficiencies of red team. Following are the techniques used by the red teams to run the exercise smoothly and efficiently. Basically, the core value or the techniques is to look from the attacker's perspective. Other techniques include open source intelligence gathering, email-based social engineering, or any any kind of social engineering, mapping of publicly accessible assets and services, identifying leaked passwords, examining existing DNS records and misconfiguration, network service exploitation, physical facility exploitation, and application layer exploitation, of course. Now, come to the main question, why an organization needs in the first place. So, here come the answer. It helps organizations to test their assumptions related to security defenses, highlight organizations' strengths, measures people's processes and technologies awareness and performance in real-world attack scenarios. It helped organizations to train the defenders or blue teamers and also helped to measure security control performance. And the next one, red teaming helps organization to improve their response time to the incident, also determines its external needs, uh, and identify organizations' weakness, update their policies, help in meeting regulatory requirements and or compliance, check if that attack would be successful here. If yes, then how to prevent that. Lastly, here are the few links um, to the good open source toolkits for red teamers. Uh, First one is from InfoSec Ninja, a GitHub link to red teaming toolkit, which comprises of few softwares. You should check it if you are looking for building an effective red team. And the second is open source list. It's basically a list for open source tools project for the red teams. Okay. I think that's it. Hope you guys learned new things from this presentation. If you have any questions, then let me know.